time to time. First thing we'll talk about are political systems, and I've listed 5 here. And I think you can see that we're talking about monarchy, dictatorship, or rule by one, and then oligarchy, ruled by an elite or a few, democracy ruled by majority, republic ruled by law, anarchy ruled by no one, and we think all possible systems are represented here, except possibly theocracy, ruled by God, and if God's going to come down and rule us, then fine, there's no sense discussing this anyway. So we don't bring that up. Now let's analyze them each and see if we can't narrow it down to fewer than the 5, and I think we can. We'll start off by saying monarchy or dictatorship ruled by one rarely exists. And you're saying to yourself, I know of kings and I know of dictators. How can you say that? Well, what you know, of course, is that the king is part of a group and he's up front, and the dictator has a group as well, and he's the one that's been chosen by that group to be up front for the group. And it's really not ruled by one, it's ruled by a group, and that's an oligarchy. The elite, the few, the group. The kings have the councils of nobles and earls. The dictators have the politburos, as they had in the Soviet Union, or the whatever they have in China today. So we're going to cross off rule by one and say, really, in the practical sense, it doesn't really exist. It's always ruled by a group. And that's an oligarchy. The elite, the few, the group. And that's the most common form of government in all history. And the most common form of government today. Most of the nations of the world today are ruled by a powerful few. And so you see we've outlined that. That's going to stay. We're not going to cross that one off. Not much more needs to be said about it, except that it should be feared. Let's go down to the other end now. We'll talk about anarchy for a few minutes. Anarchy means rule by no one. There are some people looking over history have said that one of the greatest purveyors of crime in all history have been governments, and therefore maybe the best thing to do would be to have no government at all. But that's a mistake. Government becomes necessary if you have a society. There have to be some rules. And the rules should be to protect the life, liberty, and property of the people who form the government. And it turns out that some amount of government, the proper amount of government, makes you more free than if you had to protect your life, your property, your family, all by yourself at all times. No, you don't want to have to do that. You want to live in a society where there are some rules. But anarchy turns out to be something that people advocate, not because they want no government, but because they don't like what they have. Anarchy becomes a transition from something you have to something somebody else wants. And anarchy, of course, means looting, burning, chaos, killing, terror. And in that condition, people will go to the people best able to put an end to the anarchy, who happen to be the ones who started it in the first place, and beg them to take over. And they do. And what kind of government do you think they give you then? They give you an oligarchy run by them. And it happens over and over again throughout history. In the 20th century, some prime examples. It happened in Russia in 1917. It happened in Germany in the 1930s. It almost happened in the United States in the 1960s and into the early 70s, when cities in our country were going up in smoke, and there was terrible chaos, and there was murder, and there was burning and looting. And finally, the proper authorities restored order. If they hadn't, the whole system would have broken down, and we would have ended up here, an oligarchy run by some of those people who started that problem in the first place. So anarchy itself is a transition. It's not a stable form of government, and we're going to cross that off as well. Now, we crossed off rule by one and rule by none. We've said rule by the few and the elite is very common, and now we're down to democracy and republic. And most of the people in the United States have been persuaded that we are a democracy. We've never been anything else but a democracy. And yet if they pledge allegiance to the flag, they pledge to the republic for which it stands, don't they? And I don't think I've ever heard anybody sing the battle hymn of the democracy. Well, are we a democracy or a republic? It doesn't really matter. Maybe some people are saying that this is just a semantic argument. It's just playing around with words. No, it's not. There is nothing except what we've already talked about that is more fundamental to understanding our country than to understand the difference between a democracy and a republic, and why our founding fathers gave us the republic. So let's analyze the two and see if we can't make some sense out of this. We start off by saying that democracy comes from the Greek language. It's 2 Greek words, demos and kratian. Demos, people, kratian, to rule, the people to rule. And when more people want something, then don't. The majority rules. Now say that to a lot of people, and they'll nod their head and they'll say, that's fine, we want majority rule. That's exactly what we want. And I say, wait a minute. Now suppose the majority gangs up on you and decides to take away your home. Suppose the majority wants your automobile. Maybe the majority would like your children. Right? And you say, no, there's something wrong here. Yes, indeed there's something wrong. If you allow majority rule, you don't have any rights. The majority can just destroy everything you want or everything you hold. Now, if I said to you, I'm coming to you and I'm going to take away your children, you might stand up and very, very proudly say, you're not going to do that. I have my rights and they're protected by the Constitution of the United States of America. Absolutely. Good for you. You've said it. And what you have said is the description of a republic. So then what's a republic? Well, this comes from the Latin. Res publica, res thing, publica, public. The public thing, the law. And a true republic is one that starts off by recognizing that individuals have rights, and therefore the limitation in the law is not upon the individuals as much as it is upon any force that would interrupt their God-given rights, cancel them or whatever. That's what our founding fathers gave us.